All right, so we're gonna do the schedule for Michigan football this year, all 12 games. Starting here with Fresno State, and my thoughts on Fresno State here are I think it's gonna be maybe a little sloppy at the very beginning. I'm kind of predicting Michigan will still have a lead, it might be like 17-7, and it might feel like a just a painful 17-7 to watch. It could even be 7-7 for all I know. I just think Michigan will pull away in the second half. Um, I think, Fresno State's not just some rollover team necessarily either. They're returning a lot of starters, and they had
Hmm.
a really solid quarterback, at least
Hmm.
even last year performance-wise. So I think, there's experience on this team. They know their system, just some stability with the program, and they had a pretty good year overall last year. So I don't think this is just some rollover game. I think when people hear Fresno State and it's an opening game for Michigan, we're just thinking of some, rollover team like Elon University or something, This is
Yeah.
it could be a grind. And I think the final score, my prediction final score is 34-10. I think they'll figure it out, but I think it'll be a bit
Um,
of
I mean, I think it on offense it might look sloppy, a little sloppy, but I just don't see. I mean, beyond maybe a drive or two, I don't see them blocking the front very well. So, and then I don't really see them throwing on the secondary. So, unless they find something on, some trick plays or, what I mean, some scripted stuff, which is why I said kind of a drive or two. I just don't really see them having a ton of success on defense or on offense, I should say. So I think our defense dominates the game. And yeah, maybe it looks a little clunky on offense. I can agree with you there for sure. I think there's enough big plays out there for the offense and they're probably going to
say,
want to keep some stuff under wraps for Texas. So I don't
yeah.
know how unleashed like an Alex Orgy quarterback run game would be or anything like that. But I do think they'll, yeah, I mean 34-10 is not a bad prediction. I'm going to go something closer to like 42-7. I'll give them another touchdown and take away one from them. I do think it's going to be pretty dominant, but um, it might look a little clunky in the first half. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if they do, I guess if they score more than twice for sure, then I guess Mikey Keene maybe deserves a look, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
maybe.
Like that's what we can say about that. But
Maybe. Yeah.
going into
At least
Texas,
that'd be
like
impressive on that inside defense, honestly.
yeah,
So,
and not a great O line, but yeah, again,
no.
experience with that team for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, going into Texas, obviously, very up in the air game here. Another really good QB they're facing, obviously with Quinn Ewers.
Hmm.
But the running game is where I see a concern for Texas. CJ Baxter tore his PCL, LCL, and Christian Clark, who was supposed to be their highly touted true freshman, who might have been in there between number one, running back 2 and 3. He
Hmm.
also has an Achilles injury. So I
Yep.
just don't think they're going to have much of a running game. I think that kind of does really put the focus on obviously really solid receivers still and a good quarterback. But
Hmm.
if Will Johnson and Jair Hill and the like can hold their own against that group of receivers and quarterback, then I think Michigan can still hold just being a home game. If this was at Texas, I wouldn't feel good about it at all. But I'm going to say
No.
Michigan can squeak it out 23-20.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan's going to want this game to be low scoring. I think Texas is going to want to get it into the 30s. If Michigan can keep it in the 20s, I think they've got a good. I feel good about it. Um, And I think, I mean, Joel Klatt like halfway previewed this game already, and he was like, you know, Michigan might just run the ball 50 times in a row. I mean, is Texas really going to
Well,
stop that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, right? So, you know,
Texas certainly can't do that against us, like I said, with the injuries.
no, exactly. And so Michigan, I feel like can control the game as it comes to like a pace of the game type thing, and they can kind of grind it out, and that's how Michigan likes to play some of these games. Um, so. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Quinn Ewers, Texas receivers, although they lost, AD Mitchell
Whittington,
and,
yeah, obviously,
and Whittington and
yeah,
Xavier Williams, those three guys that are
and
really talented. I mean, they still have a lot of skill. Um, I'll pick Michigan in a close one. I agree with you. I'm gonna go. I think Michigan gets 28 though, and I'll go Texas 17. So I do think win by two score by more than two, yeah, two scores at the end, but it's going to be close. It's not, that's like I'm talking like a late touchdown to kind of put it away type
I mean,
thing.
to me that's still a statement though. A lot of people like if they can't beat Texas, people are like, wow, you're looking at potentially 7-5, 8-4, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think there's three, arguably four games that are up in the air, and I think they should win the other eight. But you drop one you're not supposed to, and then you're looking at who knows, right? So if
I think they're guaranteed bowl eligible 6-6, but like
yeah, I mean, I
it's
think it's a tough schedule.
it is. Yeah, they're coming out like you can't say they're playing cupcakes at the beginning and running out Texas
No,
right after that. So,
no.
but this perhaps their next game is probably their most cupcake part of their schedule with Arkansas State and the Red Wolves.
Yep.
I think it's Michigan's highest chance, the most dominant win. That can rest the starters,
Yep.
hopefully in the second half, especially going into USC, they're really going to want to.
Yep.
Um, if they start hot, that's good. I think Michigan can win this game like 45-7.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say 49-10 is what I'll say. I mean, I'll give them 10
Give
points.
them 10. You're giving them more than you're giving
I'm just giving them a
Fresno.
late touchdown late in the game. I'll give them a
Okay.
field goal because something, and then I'll give them a late touchdown on the fourth string players.
It happens every time. It
Right. And
does.
like you're just a little annoyed by it at the end of the game, and you're like, "Would I really be annoyed? No." Like,
Right.
does it really matter?
These
No. It's
guys are
like
getting their
it's like
sacks.
watching the first preseason game of the Lions, and you're getting angry, and then you realize
And Nate
none of
Sudfeld.
these guys are making the team. So why do you even care? You know,
Nate Sudfeld potentially was at the beginning of the year, but hopefully not anymore.
not anymore.
But
But yeah, I think this is the game that it's a tune-up game before you get into to conference play. Just funny to say about USC, um, but the good thing about this beginning part of the schedule, while you've got two games that are considered really tough, USC, I still don't know exactly what to think about USC other than I know their offense will be good. I mean, revamped defense, I have no idea. So, but the best part about this is, you get these beginning games at home.
yeah, well, I was gonna say that, especially USC. I think that's gonna be a big adjustment for a lot of these teams is having to travel over 2,000 miles to each other. Like
Yep.
that's a grind, like jet
A
lag, everything you want to
completely
put into that.
different brand of football too. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's not a single Pac-12 team that does it. Maybe Utah is
Yeah.
close-ish to what Michigan does, but not really, right? And USC is coming off. I mean, do they have a Caleb Williams? No, no one's got Caleb Williams again, right? So, um,
So yeah, I mean my thoughts kind of on this. I just think Michigan seems to be further along right now than USC is. And I think traveling several thousand miles does not help them. Miller Moss's inexperience at quarterback isn't going to help them. And I do think it could be competitive, but I'm still going to say Michigan 27-17.
yeah, I actually think SC scores more than that. I think they get into the 20s. I think they get to that 24 point mark, but I just don't know what I'm going to say Michigan 38 to 24.
Michigan to me still has too many question marks for me to just be like, yeah, they're going to consistently put up 30 plus. I just don't see them that way.
I don't know some of these teams if they can, like Texas, I'd say, is the team to worry about, but like they just lost two elite defensive tackles. Can they stop the run?
Mhm.
So, and then USC, I don't know if they can stop anything that Michigan, they couldn't stop anybody last
But
year.
is the run? I mean, we on paper, yes, Donovan Edwards, you'd love to see it. Benjamin Hall, Kilo Mullings, Alex Orji, like you'd love to see it. But like the offensive line still has a part in this, and we have a lot of turnover here at the offensive line. Obviously, we like what we see, but
Yep.
I don't know if I feel as good about it. So to me, it's like that still is going to be a key part on if they're able to move the ball like that. And I guess I just think with that many concerns and my lack of belief, at least to the level of what previous offensive lines have done for Michigan, I don't know how that works. And we saw Donovan Edwards have a pretty scrub season up until the end. So it's
Yeah.
like he's gotta continue. So I don't know. That's where my concerns kind of flow. But um yeah, I mean I also agree with your assessment. We'll see how soft some of these front sevens are against, this run game. That's a
Right. I
big
mean,
question mark.
there's some Pac-12 teams where I think will match up well. I mean, the Oregon
Yeah.
is really the team that I really
Ohio
think.
State West, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've been recruited to a level and they play a physical brand of football That's the game that I worry about. But they do get him at home, I believe, right?
Yeah, Oregon's home. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, but like we saw what Washington last year in the national championship, and Michigan just obliterated their defensive line, right? Which
Mhm.
was it the weakness of their team? Absolutely, it was the weakness of their team last year, but like it never looked that bad all year long,
I mean,
even against
they
Oregon.
they still had. I'm trying to remember who the defensive tackle's name was, and then they also had Braylon Trice. Like it's not
Right.
they had some
It's
players.
some NFL players, and
Yeah.
Michigan annihilated them. And by all accounts, I mean, the offensive line 2 years ago was probably the best offensive line that Michigan had
Yeah.
had. Last year's team figured it out in the playoff. I thought they looked excellent, but they just didn't. I don't know. We'll see how this team comes together. They have to come together up front quicker than they have in the past couple of years, just because of the schedule. But if it comes together, if we talked about, hey, if Miles Hinton figures it all out, if Greg Crippen is good, right? If they got to figure out right tackle. That's the only concern. So is it Gentry? I mean, Gentry's the thought out there. Is it Evan Link? There's some options out there. By all accounts, it
They don't
probably
believe in Percy. They don't think Percy.
probably will be Gentry from what I'm hearing. Um, but there's options there. So, um, yeah,
Gentry. I'm hearing Gentry at guard.
yeah, the guard position's full though. Not
Oh, duh, it is.
got
What am I thinking?
El Hadi and Preeb. So I'm thinking,
Yeah, yeah, duh.
yeah,
No, yeah, it's
I would
probably
guess
Gentry.
Gentry is probably the guy, but it could be Percy, it could be Evan Link as well. There's a chance out there too. So, and then I think Hinton will be in left tackle, obviously. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, then Minnesota also again home game. We're just knocking them out five in a row here. But Minnesota's got a new quarterback, new defensive regime.
yep.
Already a pretty bad offense last year. If Michigan feels tired already having to play Texas and USC before a bye week, they could have a slow start here. But I think, late third quarter, they probably get the cattle prod out and Michigan wins 28-10.
Yeah, I don't think I think what did they win last year, 59-0. I mean, is it that crazy?
Yeah, yeah. Again,
That
my
crazy?
scores are lower. I think it's just erring on the side of I don't really know how good this O-line's gonna be.
Yeah, but is it that crazy? Is Minnesota better? I think their defense will probably be better. They actually had a good defense last year, but Michigan held their offense. I'm pretty sure Minnesota barely broke 100 yards or
They had
something.
didn't they have like the Greek dude last
Yeah,
year?
Ethan Kaliak-Manis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Manis. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, he Yeah, I don't know. I'm not thinking that he's going to be worth much, or that team is going to be worth much of us all. I think PJ might get him to bowl eligibility. I mean, uh, but yeah, I think I'll go 35 to I'll go 35-14. I'll give him 2 touchdowns somehow.
It always seems like they have a decent running back, right? Mo
Yeah.
Ibrahim always figured it out. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
they had some dudes.
Yep.
All right, well, let's hear your thoughts going to Washington because now Michigan, now for their first road game of the year, they have to travel 2,000 plus miles. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on this one?
I just don't think Washington's going to be very good in Jed Fish's first year. They
Yeah.
just lost too much. If this was, going to Oregon, obviously, or even going to maybe of like,
Even going to Utah.
yeah, going to Utah, not that they're in the Big Ten or anything, but like if they had to go to like a more of a middle of the road Pac-12 team, I would feel more worried about the travel part.
Mhm.
It's still a factor, certainly. But I just don't think Washington's going to be that great this year. I think Jed Fish is a great coach. I mean, I used to be offensive coordinator at Michigan. I mean, you know, I think he's a really good coach. I think he did wonders at Arizona, and they'll probably be better than I think they will be. But they just lost a lot to both the transfer portal and just the NFL draft. So I'm not, this one could be closer than I want it to be, but I'm gonna go something like 27-13, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my notes that I put on it was, yeah, pretty much two-thirds of Washington's team is flipped over. They could fall down to like 6-6, 7-5 even,
Yeah,
in Jed
or
Fish's
worse.
first
It might
year.
be worse with the schedule. I mean, they could be worse. I could see it.
I said I wrote that it'll feel far from a rematch of last year's Natty with all the rotation for both teams.
Yeah.
Still a long ways to travel to play a team. Does the jet lag come into play here? Don't think Washington's still going to roll over. But I do, like I said, I think it's gonna be closer than we feel comfortable with necessarily. But I have Michigan winning 31-20, which is still
Yeah,
11 points. So
that's. I think it's going to be close. You know, we're going to be up late at night watching that one, annoyed.
Mhm.
You're better than this team.
Yeah.
And it's a road environment that we really haven't, been around before, right? I mean, it's not something
Mhm.
we don't travel to the West Coast to play games very often, right? But
Yeah.
they got to get used to it, and it's a good one to break them in, I guess, doing that. So
They get the bye and then they go to Illinois.
yeah,
Illinois, the Illini they lost their top receiver,
yeah.
obviously. They lost their best overall player with Jerjon Newton.
Hmm.
Defense could be a struggle. Offense still might be able to hang. Michigan is getting rest though, so I think that's going to help
Yeah,
offer them some extra prep time. So I think, yeah, Michigan, you know, I think they're going to win this game like 31-17.
yeah. I don't think it's going to be all that close. I mean, maybe yeah, 31-17 seems like maybe a good score, but 28-10, something like that, right? Where it's like, you didn't love the game, you didn't love it because maybe they're a little rusty coming off of a bye, but you know, I mean, we talk about it's funny, we're talking about this team, maybe it's slightly rebuilding, but we have them winning every single one of these games so far.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but
I
I
still
mean,
think
I'll talk.
on
I'll
paper
talk.
they are a better team than every Texas is the real coin flip, right? I mean that's the coin flip there, but they're a better team than every other team on the schedule to that point, to this point. So
Yeah. Well, then, yeah, and another game we have here into the rivalry game, Michigan State, home game. Anything can happen in these types of games. However, it's a whole new regime for them with Jonathan Smith and Aiden Chalaise at the quarterback. If he plays to his ceiling to this point in the season, it could be an interesting matchup, especially if Michigan still hasn't figured out their quarterback situation. But
they're
being at the big house, Michigan 34-17.
yeah, I don't think it's Michigan wins pretty easily in this one. Yeah, the rivalry game stuff that can happen, but I think um, and I'm sure Michigan State will be salty because we just
Wipe their butts for him the other
it
day.
was
Yeah.
it was I mean it was one of the more mismatched games I can even remember last year. And so I'm sure Michigan State will put together I think they'll have a pride to them this year that we haven't seen
Yeah,
in a
it's a
while.
home game. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Michigan wins pretty easily in this one. So I'll go 38-13 or something like that.
Here's a tough one. It is home game versus Oregon, but Oregon looks really good.
Yeah.
It's Ohio State West, in my opinion. They're super talented. They're loaded with athletes on both sides of the ball. This new Oregon is a power attack, though. I think when people think of Oregon, they go back to like 2007 Chip Kelly, speed and space. Not the type of Oregon team that they are anymore. Does Oregon have the stamina at this juncture of the season to take on Big Ten physicality compared to what they had in Pac-12 conference? I still say yes. I think they're probably even better than OSU. My prediction is here is 31-16 Oregon.
Yeah, I think it might be a little close. I like it being at home. That gives Michigan maybe a fighting shot. And I think they always have a fighting shot. I mean, I don't think anybody
Yeah,
is.
they're Michigan. They're Michigan for God's
I
sakes.
don't think anybody in that they play this year is that much better than them that they'll ever get blown out. I just worry about the quarterback position. Oregon has recruited at a level that's pretty crazy high. This is the game that I kind of circle and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know at this point. The home field advantage helps. I think Michigan has a shot, especially if they go into this undefeated and confident. And if they go into it healthy and like everything's kind of rolling, I think they definitely have a shot. But yeah, I think this is the one where it's like I don't, the it's not even a talent gap. It's just like experienced talent. That's the difference, right? I think Michigan maybe, a year from now might be right there, but and it's the quarterback position that I just, stands out to me. Dylan Gabriel and Michigan. I don't know. We'll see.
Don't.
We don't
Yeah.
know, right? And if it's
Yeah.
Alex Orji and he's great, sweet, right? That's
Yeah.
that's the X factor, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'll go Oregon in this one. I'll pick Oregon. But I'll go like um 28-17.
Yeah. Well, then at the Hoosiers next. I'm actually pretty high on Curtis Rourke, but I think there's too many other question marks for right now for him. After the brutal loss against Oregon, though, and right before their next bye, it could be a battle of attrition. But I'm going to say Michigan wins this 30-20.
Yeah. Um, I think it'll be pretty easily a win. Um, I'm gonna go, yeah, 38-10. I just
Okay.
don't I just don't see them moving the ball much on this defense. So again, I think I said it last year and I was mostly right. I just don't see too many teams even this year. Last year's defense was generational, but this year's
Mhm.
defense isn't going to be that far off, and they might be more athletic. They just won't have the depth of last year's defense. Um, but I just
I
don't
think it's
see,
better.
I just really don't see teams scoring too many, 3 touchdowns on this team almost ever. You know, the Oregons worry me, Texas worries me, maybe even USC because that offense is pretty crazy usually, and Ohio
Ohio
State.
State certainly will. Yeah.
Yeah, those 4 games are the ones where you're like, maybe, right? But even then, like Ohio State last year only scored nobody scored more than 24 points on this team last year. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get the bye again, and then we'll play at home against Northwestern. 8 starters will are back on the defense for Northwestern. That definitely overachieved last year for the Wildcats, but there's
great,
no
great
stability
coach,
at the yeah.
great coach.
Uh yeah. No stability at the QB position though. If stability sets into the second last game of the season, it could be competitive here too. The extra week of rest though gives Michigan a reset to get right before the game of the year next week. Um, I'm going to say it's a slow burning game, and I think again you're going to talk about other things that especially if they do somehow still land undefeated here, they're going to save as much of that playbook as possible that they're going to show Ohio State for recent film. I'm going to actually say it's low scoring. Michigan will just grind it little by little, and I think they're going to win 17-10.
I think it'll be low scoring because I think that's how Northwestern will just
Yeah, a
call
lot of
it.
experience in the defense.
I
Good
mean,
coach.
but I think it'll be a little bit higher than that. I'll go 27 to 10. You
I think
know,
27 is low score. I'm happy. If my team scores 27, I need them to win. Like
yeah, if
that's
they
kind
score
of how,
27, especially with this defense, then they should win almost all the games if they score that many points per game.
yeah. Then here to finish the at Ohio State. Well, the three-peat was nice, but Ohio State brought everyone back just for another chance to beat Michigan at home. Um, on the road against maybe the best college roster on paper. I just feel like this makes it damn near impossible to pick the Wolverines.
Yep.
But I'm going to say Ohio State 34-21.
I think it's going to be close, though. I really do. I think it'll be even closer than that. You know, if Michigan wins, wow, how cool would that be? But
Ryan, they won't have a job anymore.
exactly, that's kind of a bummer.
That's
I
that's a,
kind of want
that's a
him
nail
to
in the coffin for sure.
kind of want Ryan Day to stick around. I'll go Ohio State winning this one. I think it'll be close though. I really do. They're gonna have to overcome some demons to win that one, and I don't know if they've got it in them. I think Ryan Day's soft, so I don't really know if they've got it in them. But I'll go 31 to 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't even do that. No, no, because I really don't see them scoring it much either, even with that loaded offense. Because I just don't love their quarterback position either. I'll go they get 24, Michigan 17. I think it's a one-score game.
Well, here are my final thoughts. I did kind of type out a paragraph, but I said I think their floor is 7-5, and I think the ceiling is 11-1.
Yep.
Michigan is ranked 126th in returning production after 13 players got drafted and another handful of them got signed to NFL rosters undrafted. The whole offensive line is new, with only Hinton getting and Hadi getting some starting experience,
Mhm.
which, if they are only average, could seriously affect running game and passing game with passing experience. Defense and especially secondary depth looks outstanding, and landing Wink Martindale as a defensive coordinator is a great replacement hire after years of rotating previous talented coordinators in and out. But the most concerning of all is the QB situation. Obviously, the one guy who touches the ball every single play. Um, is still up in the air. And due to Tuttle's injuries, Davis Warren and Alex Orji appear to be the likely starting QB candidates. We know Orji is athletic and can chuck the hell out of a football, but is there any semblance of accuracy, or is he just a faster Joe Milton with maybe two-thirds of that arm strength? Warren has had some playing experience and seems to look quite good every spring game, but in actual games, he seems jittery and has thrown some pretty lousy balls. I actually would feel better about Michigan with Jack Tuttle personally if he had been healthy all year. Uh, so I hear show 10-2 going game by game with you. But I am projecting 9-3,
Mhm.
losing to Oregon, Ohio State, and I think they're gonna lay an egg versus a Big Ten team that they should beat, like Minnesota, Illinois, Northwestern, Indiana. I think they're just not gonna show up one game and it's gonna be a grind. I think just one of them's gonna steal it. I don't know who it is at face value, obviously, right now. But that is kind of where I'm standing is at 9-3. And I think 10-2, obviously, you're guaranteed that playoff bracket. I think 9-3, though,
Nine
you
and
can
three, depending on who you lose to, and you got to beat one of those four teams, and it depends on which one it is. So if you beat Ohio State or Oregon and you're 9-3, I think you're in. If you
yeah.
beat Texas and you're 9-3, you're probably in. If it's USC of those four games we talked about, that's up in the air. So, you know, but to your point, 9-3 and losing a game that you should win, I don't know if that gets you in. So, so
Okay.
yeah, on all that, I mean, it reminds me of 2021 where we weren't sure. We knew there was a lot of talent, but we weren't quite sure there. We just really didn't know,
What
right?
if you have three losses? Let's say you do lose to Texas. Let's say you lose to Texas, you lose to Oregon, and you lose a clunker, but then you beat Ohio State, who only had like one loss or zero losses going into that game.
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that make up for that?
then it's a
Right?
debate, right? It depends. I think it all just depends. It's a debate. It also depends on what type of teams are around you. Like, how many two-loss teams, are there? How many
How
three-loss?
many other 9-3 and 10-2
Yeah, is
teams
there
are there?
another 9-3 and 10-2 teams at that point are what you're
I still
looking at?
think most people would think Michigan's a unanimous top two 9-3 team. I just think
Probably,
everyone on paper still looks at Michigan and be like, all right,
probably, right? But then there's teams that could steal a bid that aren't actually that good. Like Penn State's schedule is horrible, right?
yeah.
Have to play either Michigan or Ohio State, I don't think. Um, you know,
Nice to have a personally, it's nice to have a break from Penn State for like 11 years in a row we played them. So
right. But they also can't seem to figure us out. So it's one of those things where and also James Franklin's an imbecile, so it's always fun. But I don't know, yeah, I think 10-2 is a guarantee in, which is nice. Uh, it's nice now to have some leeway. You don't have to go undefeated or maybe one loss to get in. Um, and with the schedule like this, that's really nice. It's also kind of one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I think ceiling, I agree with you. I mean, ceiling's probably undefeated for me, but I just really don't see it happening with the lack of experience at QB. So, um, but again, Alex Orji is such an X factor to where if he brings something different to the offense, and they really like utilize his legs way more than they ever did with like JJ McCarthy or even I don't know before that they really had anybody like him. I if they really utilize it and kind of form the offense around that type of thing and it's successful, then yeah, I could see 10-2 for sure. I mean, that's gonna be tough to defend when you put Donovan Edwards on the field with Kalel Mullings, Colson Loveland, and then a extreme run threat in Alex Orji and then maybe like a Samaj Morgan in the slot. Like, I mean, what do
yeah,
you
a lot of speed and space right there, and then
a
a
lot of
little bit.
speed and also it's like big dudes in space too. And like okay, you got to defend Orgy up the middle on the QB run. You got to defend Mullings up the middle as a run threat. You got Edwards running wide with speed, right? You can put him in the slot too. You got to defend Morgan because he's a threat. Loveland's a threat. Like, and how do you match up to that? So it's what is that personnel? Is that 21 personnel with two running backs and one tight end, or is that what is that really? Because is Edwards a receiver in
Do you
that?
do it? Do you do two
I
six
would
five a two
I
six
would
four?
the best way to defend that, in my opinion, is you put as many safeties on the field as possible, in my opinion. So you have a bunch of
Well, I mean, I guess if you're doing a 2-6-4, you're obviously not going to put 6 linebackers out there, but
you have
you
as many
could.
safeties as possible, but you don't. I mean, most teams can't do that, right? So are they going to line up in a base 4-3 against that? No, because you're going to get it thrown over your head. Probably you're going to get out, you know, beaten to the edge really by Donovan Edwards or Samaj Morgan. If you put out a nickel,
I
okay,
don't know
cool.
why I said 2-6-4. I mean,
I know what you're saying
it's
though.
1-6-4.
But then, okay, what do you do with Loveland if you're in a nickel, right? You're gonna good luck putting a linebacker or safety on Loveland, right? And then, or you got to match up a linebacker or safety to cover Edwards in the pass game. That's not gonna work, right? So I don't know. They could really mess with a bunch of matchups on this offense if they really want to.
Next week we have to break up the whiteboard and try to figure out a solution to stop Michigan.
Oh, the solution is
X's and O's, bro. X's and
no.
bros.
The solution you have is you just have some kick-ass defensive tackles that can just wreck a game. But how many teams really have that?
Michigan.
Michigan. They're the only team that I know of that on paper has two just destroyed, dominating maybe first round pick defensive tackles.
Ohio State has, I mean, JT Tuamalo and who's the other interior guy that's really good?
I think
I
Tyleek
feel like
Williams is in the NFL though now.
the,
So yeah, I mean I'm sure they'll have four guys that are good. I mean they recruit like gangbusters, and I'm sure they've got guys, but I don't know.
yeah.
It could be a team that's really tough to stop on offense. It's just whether they can utilize all the pieces that they have to actually work. So,
All right. Well, we will find that out, and then we'll try to keep you updated every couple weeks on how Michigan's doing, and then next week we'll try to get back and do an NFL preview.
yeah, go Lions.
Yes, that will
Play
be
tomorrow, right?
They
They
do
play
play
tomorrow.
tomorrow, and we'll see if Nate Sudfeld left the roster yet. But
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Jake Fromm,
Hey, anybody,
anybody but Nate,
anybody but Sudfeld.
I
This
know
is
it's
like never Trump
anybody,
people.
no, anybody but Trump, but anybody but Sudfeld for me.
Anybody but Sudfeld. Just never Sudfeld. I'm good with that.
Never, yeah, never Sudfeld, never Nate. All
Exactly.
right, man. We'll see you next week then.
Yep. Bye.